You remember the cassette tape, that small plastic rectangle that held your entire world inside it, your favorite album, a mixtape someone made specifically for you, songs you had listened to so many times the ribbon had started to wear thin. You remember what it felt like to hold one, the weight of it, the click when you pressed it into the player, and you remember, if you are honest, that music has never quite felt the same since. The cassette tape arrived in living rooms in the 1960s and spent the next 3 decades becoming one of the most personal pieces of technology an ordinary person would ever own. Small enough to fit in a shirt pocket, durable enough to survive years of daily use, and just fragile enough to remind you it needed care. The ribbon inside could hold about 45 minutes of music per side. Today, that sounds like a limitation. Back then, it felt like a world. And the first thing you learned, without anyone explaining it, was how to save a tape when the ribbon came loose. You found a pen. You slid the tip into the reel hole. You turned slow and steady, watching the tangled ribbon disappear back inside, knowing that one wrong move meant that song, that mixtape, that thing someone made for you would be gone. When it worked, when you pressed play and the music finally started, that feeling was not something anyone handed you. You earned it. Walking into a music store with your allowance in your pocket was already a commitment before you touched anything. Hundreds of cassettes on the wall, and you read track listings, studied artwork, made decisions based on incomplete information and instinct. No previews, no algorithm. You chose something, paid for it, walked home not knowing whether it would be the best decision you ever made or a complete waste of a week's savings. And whatever was on that tape, it was yours in a way that felt permanent and real. Because you paid for it in attention as well as money, you listened differently. Skipping was not effortless, so you did not skip. You sat with albums from the beginning, in order, at the pace they were designed to move at. The songs that meant the most were almost always the ones buried deep on side 2, the ones that needed several listens before they revealed what they were. The format protected those songs. It forced the kind of sustained attention that allowed music to do its deepest work on you. Then there were the mixtapes. Making one meant sitting next to a stereo for hours with a specific person in your mind, choosing songs for them, not yourself, pressing record at the right moment on each track, keeping your finger hovering over the stop button so the silence between songs did not stretch too long, then handing someone a small plastic rectangle that contained, in its arrangement of magnetic particles, the specific shape of how you thought about them. There is no streaming service that replicates what it felt like to receive something like that, not because the songs could not be the same songs, but because what you were actually receiving was the hours someone spent on you. You held the evidence of someone's attention in your hands. That is not a feature that can be added to a playlist. The Walkman changed what music meant to daily life. Before it, music happened in a place. After it, music traveled with you, laid over the texture of ordinary experience, making the walk to school or the long bus ride into something private and cinematic. A generation learned to move through the world inside a soundtrack. A well-loved cassette sounded different from a new one, warmer, slightly softer at the edges, the frequencies smoothed by hundreds of passes across the playhead into something more worn in, more intimate. Hearing that same song now in pristine digital clarity can feel technically accurate and emotionally slightly wrong. The way a photograph of a place you remember deeply can be perfectly sharp and still miss the thing you were actually trying to hold on to. The last time you held a cassette tape? Drop the year in the comments. The CD arrived and the sound was cleaner. The MP3 removed the object entirely. Streaming removed the commitment, the scarcity, the act of choosing. Each step made music more available and less weighted, and with each step, something shifted in what it felt like to love a song. What the cassette carried that nothing has replaced was not sound quality. It was the texture of effort running through every layer of the experience. The deliberate purchase, the attentive listening, the making and receiving of mixtapes, the small ritual of rewinding before you pressed play. Effort creates investment. It turns something external, a sequence of sounds, someone else's feelings arranged into music, into something internal, something that becomes part of how you understand yourself and remember your own life. The generation that rewound tapes with pens learned that the gap between you and the thing you want is not always a problem to be solved as quickly as possible. That friction, handled with patience, is the very mechanism through which something becomes meaningful rather than merely available. Those 5 minutes on the bedroom floor, pen turning slowly in a reel hole. They were not the inconvenience that stood between you and the music. Those 5 minutes were part of the music, and the generation that never needed a pen will spend their whole lives with more music than any human being in history, and will sometimes feel, without knowing why, that something is slightly missing. It was always worth the trouble. They just never had to know it.